The palace was burning. Lieutenant Marcus Hale had never been this deep inside the Zerati capital. The white marble halls, once gleaming like frozen starlight, were now cracked and scorched. The air was thick with acrid smoke, mingled with the high-pitched whine of distant plasma fire. He was there for one reason: extract the Zerati Empress before the rebel fleet breached the inner sanctum. There was just one problem. The Zerati hated humans. Not disliked. Not distrusted. Hated. And no one hated them more than Empress Karivex, a child ruler barely 10 cycles old, whose speeches had often included lines like, "Humanity is a plague upon the stars." But orders were orders. Marcus found her in the throne room, standing amid the wreckage. She was tiny, barely reaching his waist, with shimmering obsidian skin traced in gold markings and a coronet clinging to her head. Even with the firelight casting sharp shadows across her face, her eyes blazed with defiance. "You," she spat when she saw him. "They send a human scavenger to fetch their enemy's crown?" Marcus ignored the insult, scanning the ceiling for structural weak points. "I'm here to get you out before the rebels do." "I will not be dragged by human hands," she said coldly, chin tilted upward. "I will die on my own soil before." The wall behind her exploded inward. Shards of marble and molten steel rained across the chamber. Marcus didn't think. He lunged forward, scooping her into his arms, just before another blast rocked the hall. She thrashed. "Unhand me, vermin." "Yeah, that's not happening," Marcus grunted, ducking under a collapsing beam. "You want to live? Shut up and hold on." They moved through the burning palace with rebels in pursuit. Marcus kept her pressed against his chest, her small frame surprisingly light despite the ceremonial armor she wore. "You reek of oil and filth," she muttered into his shoulder. "Better than reeking of dead, your majesty," he said, kicking through a fallen door. "You're insolent. Occupational hazard." Despite her venom, Marcus noticed her grip tightening on his jacket whenever an explosion echoed nearby. They reached a service tunnel that led toward the hangar bay. Marcus knelt to catch his breath, setting her down. "Stay behind me," he ordered. She crossed her arms. "Humans think they are protectors, but you are destroyers. Everything you touch burns." Marcus leaned against the wall, staring at her. "Lady, your palace was already burning before I got here. I didn't start this war, but I'm sure as hell not going to leave a kid to die in it." Her mouth opened to retort, but then the ceiling above them groaned. Marcus didn't hesitate. He grabbed her again just as the tunnel behind them caved in. The hangar was chaos. Half the ships were already destroyed, and the rebels were closing in fast. Marcus sprinted toward his shuttle, weaving through bursts of plasma fire. A bolt struck the floor beside him, sending both of them sprawling. The Empress yelped as they hit the ground. Marcus rolled over her, shielding her from another blast, then fired 2 quick shots into the rebels advancing from the side. Her eyes widened at the sight, not in gratitude, but surprise. "You take fire for me?" she asked, disbelief cutting through her scorn. "That's the job," Marcus said, hauling her to her feet. "Now move." They reached the shuttle just as a rebel skimmer screamed overhead. Marcus shoved her inside and sealed the hatch. The ship lurched as he powered it up, engines whining under the strain. The Empress sat stiffly in the co-pilot seat, clutching the arms of a chair. "You're bleeding," she said, noticing the scorch mark across his sleeve. "Not bad enough to matter." Silence fell between them as the shuttle lifted into the smoke-filled sky. The rebel ships were faster, and Marcus had to weave through the palace spires to keep them from getting a clean shot. Finally, they broke through the upper atmosphere, and the vast sweep of space opened before them. Inside the quiet hum of the cockpit, Marcus set a course for the Allied fleet. "You could have left me," she said suddenly. Yeah, I could have. Why didn't you? Marcus glanced at her. Because you're a kid. Because it was right. Take your pick. Her golden eyes searched his face. Even though I've spoken against your kind? Especially then, Marcus said. Proving someone wrong feels a lot better than saying I told you so. She stared at him for a long moment, then looked away. Hours later, when they docked with the flagship, the medics rushed in. Marcus started to follow them as they led her toward the infirmary, but she turned back to him. Lieutenant, she said, her voice softer than he'd heard it before. Yeah. Her gaze met his, and for the first time, it wasn't full of scorn. I will remember this. And I will reconsider. That's all I can ask, Your Majesty. She hesitated, then added, and Marcus, thank you. 3 months later, Marcus was stationed on a remote listening post when a sealed communique arrived. It was from the Zarati court. To Lieutenant Marcus Hale. By decree of Empress Vex, bearer of the Golden Crown of Zyrith, you are hereby named Shield of the Throne, in recognition of your valor and mercy. You are welcome in the Zarati capital at any time. Marcus smiled faintly, tucking the letter into his jacket. She might still scorn humanity. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't scorn him.